taking on. I'll get Eva and Joe to chip in as well.
So you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please, Lauren. Yeah.
Cool, great.
There we go.
Great. So I'm a brand ambassador for REECE. So I work exclusively in specification in a national context, focusing in Victoria and New South Wales. We're quite targeted in terms of tier 1 architects and designers between commercial and boutique specifications. So our role is to hero the global portfolio as well as the REECE local owned portfolio. So specifying projects from every sector and having expertise in executing in each of those sectors. So anything from hotels to schools to hospitals to a bar. Prefer bars and hotels, let's be honest. Yeah, so really get out there, and we're basically leading the fray at the cold face in terms of early engagement. So that's what my team does. There's 4 of us in Australia currently, hoping to grow the team further. So also looking at interesting platforms in which we can, I guess, supercharge the work we do, which is where we've come to meet Gus, which has been great. So
that's awesome.
Thanks, Lauren. Maybe Eva?
That's awesome, Lauren. Thanks for that. Yeah, I'm Eva Dixon. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director at NBS Australia. So I lead the sales and marketing teams in Australia, essentially. So we've got sales team selling across the Source platform, and we've also got another team selling across the Chorus platform, which is the specification writing software for the architects. And then obviously we've got the marketing team as well. So I don't know if Gus has probably explained that we're fairly new to Australia. So we're really kind of like a little startup offshoot here, and we've been trying to build our brand for the last couple of years and continuing to grow and stretch our little tentacles into as many specifiers as humanly possible, which is, I'm sure, why REECE is now interested in chatting with us.
Well, a startup with a huge parent.
Absolutely. We've had amazing success in the UK, and they've been hugely successful during COVID, being a cloud-based platform. Everybody's obviously, we were all in the new normal, working from home and working remotely. So we've had a huge success, and we've been buying up other businesses in Australia and in Canada and across the US from our parent company, Big Factor Group. So we've got some big ambitions for Asia Pacific.
Yeah, that's great. And where are you based, Eva?
In Melbourne.
Oh, cool, good.
Are you in Melbourne as well?
Yeah, you look familiar. Yeah. That's all. Take around the track somewhere. You never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exciting times. Enjoy.
It is very much.
Thanks, Eva. Maybe Joe, if you can explain why you're here.
Sure, yeah.
Hopefully, glad you're here, mate.
I'm here because you invited me, Gus.
Yes. all the curly questions are going to Joe, by the way.
Yeah. With my lunch, it's okay. Yeah. So I'm down in Port Melbourne as well, actually. You can probably tell I'm from England, but I am down in Port Melbourne, not far from the office. My role with NBS is working with the architect. So I've been in architecture myself for about 16 years in practice before NBS. And my main role is helping the architects understand the platform, how to write their specs, and therefore, of course, how to implement products. To get them fully conversant with NBS Source. And it does blend into the model integration quite a lot as well, so working with Revit or ArchiCAD just to make sure they can match up those products with their models. So it's a bit of a full architecture experience, really.
Fantastic. And handy that you're an architect yourself. So who did you used to work for in Melbourne town?
Yes, before NBS was with Cox Architecture.
Ah, fabulous.
And then with Gensler before, but that was in Middle East, and then a small company in London called EPR Architects.
Fantastic. Oh, good. Very good. And if you see me doing this, I actually am paying attention and madly writing notes to share with the gang. So, audience today, guys. I'm not on my Teams chatting away with people, in case you're wondering. So
no, that's all good.
Okay.
Well, Joe, if you'd like to head off proceedings, maybe with the screen share, and while you're doing that, I'll just sort of recap, Lauren, what we saw in our session. Obviously, it was kind of like 3 main parts to NBS. The first one being Source, which has got the product listings, and you do your search, compare, and all those sort of things. Then we jumped into Chorus, which Joe's going to go a bit more of a deep dive into Chorus of actually getting added to the spec, what happens there, and he'll go into more of the outputs of the Chorus specification platform in alignment to that sample that you sent us, the Word document sample. So I've got Joe to sort of replicate that to a degree. And of course, the third thing we saw was the reporting side of it. But this session today is really going to be more focused on Chorus, and certainly feel free to fire questions and ask things. I know Joe sort of set up a demo project with some familiar type products in there. But looks like Joe's getting it all ready. Joe, I'll leave it over to you, mate.
Cool. Okay. Hopefully you can see that all right, Lauren. Yes, what we do, just took all your products list from that schedule that you sent. I did the demo in our spec pack content. Obviously, there's different sort of content sets we have available for the architects. But generally, I'm teaching the architects to build up their different works packages in this sort of format. There'll obviously be plenty more for a full project. And as an example, I'll jump into plumbing fixtures first. This is when I'm teaching the architects how to use this platform, how to build up their project contents on the left-hand side. The middle panel is just the actual working of the work section itself and some of the details of the, the more technical specification side. And the right-hand side, there's a fair bit of extra functionality where we can get the products involved. So you'll see straight away products flashes up here in Chorus. So this allows the architects to just throw in products instantly from this list of source subscribers straight into their spec. And what I've done, of course, with your products is start to list them in some of the clauses here. So typically the spec pack content is built up of general, materials and execution. So within materials section, that's generally where we suggest the architect should put their product selections, and they can either create a new clause in this specification just by pretty simple kind of consistent language through the platform. You can insert new clauses, that kind of thing. So we suggest they do insert the new clauses and start documenting the types in here. So this is what the a version of what you guys have sent to us. One of the basins, which had the BAS01 suffix. You can amend this as much as you want in terms of renaming things, prefix and suffix. You might have, ground floor on prefix and then suffix, the code that you get given to us. So the architects will then jump in and do their own in-house coding or various kind of codes to match up with the drawings, and they actually start to document their products here. So as you can see, I did a couple of test products just to show the content that you had sent to us, just to show how you document them. And the user can easily change this up and add extra bits in by just using the 3 dots here and say add a new row here or add a row below, and all the numbers nicely stack up. So it builds up quite a sort of a logical spec for them to start to document. So on some of the other works packages, again, there was a various amount of products you had on your schedule there. So I'd listed these in handrails and balustrades, for example, for the grab rails, again, just documented in a very simple way using the prefix and suffix for the codes you've given us. And to jump to the end product pretty quickly and then sort of come back with some questions after that, if you like, we end up with this spec I'm just opening. So in terms of an output, we have something called style sheets, and the architect will be able to put their own, in terms of company branding and colours and logos, they'll put their own sort of branding on their spec to add some sort of colours and different kind of graphics like that. And we jump down to the actual locations. We've got the plumbing fixtures and the sanitary sewage that I just looked over, for example, all comes through as a pretty tidy spec with all the technicalities you'd expect. These are all live links, by the way, so live links work in the output as well. The actual documents, the products that I documented are shown down there. Fairly standard stuff there, but to show you the slightly better version is the tables that you sent to us.
Joe?
Yep, sure.
Joe, are you able to make that a little bit, I don't know if anybody else is having trouble seeing it, but it looks very small on my screen. Oh, that's much better.
Thanks.
Good point, thank you. Yeah, we've got a nice big screen in front of me. So what we also suggest is sometimes the subscriber can, back into Chorus here, can create their own product selections. So often you can put your own product selections in the correct work section, of course, whether it's bricks in the brickwork or cladding, metal panel cladding in the cladding section. So you can put them in the sort of suggested locations, or you can create one, which is a template clause. So a lot of architects want a little separate product suite in order to document their products in here as a sort of separate location away from the true work section. And how that can come through in a table is, this is the one I've just been looking at, the nominated products. You can bring it through as the usual view is here. or down into a full table view. So lots of companies were really onto that straight away. They wanted to do a huge amount of almost like versions of door schedules or sanitary fittings or various products here being listed in their spec. So what Chorus allows you to do is nicely combine the spec with the materials and finishes schedule, and you sort of haven't got two duplicated documents that are independent. You can kind of absorb them together with all their types, with all their links. And of course, as you can see, these are live links back to the exact product as well. So you can easily put in a live link, and your architect or your client can just click straight through to it. So it works really well for connectivity. That's the sort of main thing that we can check.
So quick question, Joe, in Chorus, like, so that formatting is great and relevant and all those things, particularly a table view. If the product's not actually integrated into the Chorus platform, i.e. there's no one from that manufacturer subscribing, so you're saying they can add additional products from open market to this template moment? That's good. Yep. That's
so on Chorus here, yeah, you can still free type. So for example, what I was doing before is just simply add a new item below. It creates a new clause, and this one's going to be, say, soap dispensers or something. Yeah. And you just start free typing on the next little clause down there. So it gives you the option to do it manually, do it the sort of old school way, but then obviously you're digging through so much technical info right here. And then you can otherwise go to the products and chuck them in from NBS source. That's what a lot of architects are really enjoying.
Okay. And so as part of that process, like they can upload images and things like that, because I'm thinking about it conversely. So obviously like the opportunity for the REECE portfolio to be a subscriber and just have a drag and drop moment in terms of our core ranges, but also the practicality of onboarding major practices to engage in the platform to use this exclusively to specify, so that we do get that traction with the specifiers. So I'm just trying to understand what the value is from their perspective as well, I guess.
So from architect's perspective, their choices, do you mean? I mean, what choices do they have when they click onto the product? Is that what you're kind of asking? So in terms of the choice they have, of course, they can search an NBS source. It opens up the sort of the wide world of NBS source, and they can do a search from here. So, for example, if you looked at source already, but you can do a standard search for soap dispensers, or just go to building categories, and that shows you the full building terminology here. Otherwise, to manufacturers, and it will show me all the sort of manufacturers list we have, A to Z. So you make various choices that sort of old school way. And I suppose just as a very quick example, once I jump into one of these products, there's the add to spec button under one of the products. Again, all the information there is listed out. Under products, you can just select one of the products and do an automatic add to spec. So this one, for example. It's where the nice connectivity comes in. It's simply that button, add the spec, and it'll give me the option to open NBS Chorus, but I've already got Chorus open here, so I might as well jump back into this one, and I can just simply paste it into here. So Control V for a paste, and it will complete that clause exactly according to the technical details of the product I've just chosen. Gives me a little bit of an overview just to say this is the one you're choosing. Are you sure? The code check to say, well, you're in the nominated products of template. You know, it's just stacking up the classifications and the coding is all correct. And you'll say, yeah, good to go. Add product, and that clause gets fully completed with that information.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic connectivity. Yeah, you know, it's sort of not really been able to be done before. It doesn't seem too complicated over the years, but it's finally progressed to this level where you can go with all the technical details there. So the added bonus is that within a product, you might have a choice in terms of colors of this product, and therefore use the drop-down menu and all the choices that are already pre-verified by Ampolite in this case. So therefore, you're not making an erroneous choice. You're only choosing something that is actually possible from this range of products.
Okay, cool.
Lauren, does that sort of answer your question, Lauren, on usability from their side?
So. I mean, I have to keep flipping and thinking bigger picture in terms of this being a standard moving forward, or a platform, you know, that has greater use, which I do see its relevance to the Australian market at 110%, which is fantastic. I guess probably the main one is, you know, like once and if REECE's products are all uploaded on there, how many other products are loaded up on there to make it easier? Like, so you saw in that sample that I gave you a lot of diversity by category between where we're sourcing products from, and REECE will sell all the products on that schedule that I sent you, and only maybe I think probably 30 or 40% of them are core ranging from us. So I guess I just sort of My question is, like, in order to be best practice, and if we're looking at providing the most leading edge products by, commercial application by RESI or whatever it looks like, how often are your partners uploading new product information, new ranges, all of that sort of thing? Because for me, yes, it's important from REECE's perspective, but in true specification and as a support for a designer, we go from here, from the website to here in terms of depth and breadth of knowledge of what's available to them to use. So if you're making up, let's say, 30% of it with a drag and drop scenario with what's sitting in Chorus, and then they're having to physically do the rest of it by choice because it's not sitting in there, I just wonder if that would impact workflow. But I suppose they have to do that with their own documentation in-house currently. I'm just thinking out loud through scenarios, and if you have feedback from design firms specifically, I think that would be of interest as well.
Yeah, the advantage I hear, certainly from the architects, it's the pre-verified information. That's the key. You might want to search a bit around and find your product. Then you've got such a lot of technical detail to try and go and dig around. Then you might give them a call. They don't necessarily know your very intricate questions straight away. You try and get them the technical data sheet to glean all the information from there, but that's a fair bit of work. So the fact that this is all pre-verified, and you can have a little look at this product first of all and say, right, let me just consider my options. Here's an overview of it. Here's the application of where it's useful. Here's the actual details of the clause that's going to be added into my spec. So it gives you that lots of knowledge first of all before you then make your final choice. And I think it's just that sort of preloaded information where the architect sort of needs to do a bit of looking, but not put too much effort and time into like scrapping around lots of data online trying to find it. So that seems to be.
Joe, would it be fair to say that if an architect is building spec and the products weren't there, then they think, oh crap, I've now got to find it. In their world, I think wouldn't it be great if it was all there? That part of my role actually is to actually onboard more and more manufacturers to make their world easier. I guess
that was my next question too.
Yeah. Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not going to just be REECE products exclusive.
No,
it's
and
choice.
It's not as much a benefit for us, to be honest with you. It is not. There isn't as a greater benefit to having, just REECE on there until we've got absolutely every product available and every finish available in the market, right? So, there is gains to be had in bringing others on board. Hey, Simon.
Welcome in, Simon. G'day, mate. But no, obviously, as Joe mentioned, if it isn't there, they'd have to manually write that particular line in, which is kind of what they're doing now anyway, or pasting it in from other resources. So in order to complete their spec.
Yeah, the project you used last month or last year, you'd say, oh, let's just use that set of sinks we used on that hotel, just grab that and throw it straight in. It's typically from an Excel document to an Excel document. It's a little bit manual. So this just means you can have this information, and where the next step is storing it up as projects or masters. So as an overall organizational template, you have your live things you're working on in terms of projects, and the masters is where your like protected content that you want to use at any point. You drag that down. So one of these would typically say perhaps bathroom fittings or internal walls or cladding, and you just go into this area, grab the content, and then just grab it straight down into your project. So that kind of works nicely to have it in the same location, ready to use again.
Actually, Joe, that's a good segue. I did mention to the guys in the demo that they have the ability to set up these masters in a way that incorporates their products to complete perhaps a system or not just a single product. So, and Lauren, you'd have the with an additional license to get onto Chorus and actually set these up for these specifiers, so they can just simply drag and drop that master into their world and make it easy for them. So that's certainly there's more and more people taking advantage of that. I think it's a brilliant idea, and that way you sort of make their world so much easier, and it's all compliant. It all ticks a particular box. They can, of course, adjust it if need be, but it just gives them a starting point with a number of different products to create a complete system. I don't know, Joe, if I put you on notice, I don't know if that's possible just to show, or is that a little bit too in depth for these sessions? Apart from saying it is possible, and other manufacturers are getting on board doing that, exactly that. That is available to you, but not sure if you can show anything along those lines with masters, Joe.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you're awesome, man. But
I'm sure you're asking me a question that I can say yes to. So.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. It's a demo environment, So it's
I certainly encourage them to do. Typically, an architect would have their projects they're working on, but their masters might be like last year's project, or in this case, it might be a particular sort of component of a building, so window types. Therefore, in that example, if subscribers using this really well, they have many different masters, and this one just might be a set of external windows that they can just copy straight down from previously. So it's just another way in which to store your items, and you'd simply, for example, if this is the one, it's already labeled with my own in-house codes that I want. I'll just simply click the box there and say actions, copy to, and I put it into the project that I'm working on. Select my project. Just, all this stuff is relatively simple in theory, but it's just the connectivity is finally there now. It's not too difficult to copy things, but when you're just grabbing from an old Word document, putting it into an Excel document, and resaving it somewhere as a strange name, and nobody knows where to find it, blah blah blah. Just that sort of flow is far better just to have it all in the same place. So typically your company might have 5, 6, or 7 people all within Chorus that can grab these things at different times and put them into their project. So that's the way the masters works.
You can clearly see why this platform is just going gangbusters with the end user specifier market, who are used to Word document templates. Yeah, it's certainly a no-brainer, and hence the reason why they want those products there, so they can do the add to spec quite easily. But Lauren, and maybe Simon, if you're there, I know you got in a bit late. If there's sort of any other questions that are bubbling around in your mind, that while we've got Joe and we can pick his brain.
I'll leave it to Lauren. This is probably most useful for Lauren at the moment.
Sure.
So what sort of manpower do you have behind driving the subscribers in the Australian market currently? Whose KPI is that?
To onboarding subscribers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in EBS team, we've got a couple of guys that are madly getting those people signed up and on board, and yeah, that's certainly they're doing an excellent job there as far as getting those guys on. So it's
an impressive list, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny once they realize others have got on board, they go, oh, okay, what is that? And that's sort of I think that happened towards the end of last year, that sort of tipping point where it was a NBS who, what do I need this? I'm quite happy with my templates that I've been using for 10 years, and
yeah.
I'm sure those products are still relevant, right? But when they see this and what Joe's just showed you is a very tip of the iceberg stuff, they go, wow. But the whole collaboration and actually inviting you as manufacturers on board to assist, because that's, remember when you saw the reporting in the demo, you know that you've been nominated by XYZ practice. Obviously, you don't want to be a stalker or anything like that, but you can provide assistance, and they can invite you in to do what Joe's just shown you, saying, hey, I'm not too sure about that, which is kind of what you used to do anyway in a manual sense. You used to prepare and you used to shove it over the fence and say, there you go, I've made it for you. This is kind of the digital version of doing that. And it's in alignment to how they would like to work now. They kind of want to do away with the Word, Excel templates and those sort of things. Once they invest in this and invest their time in building up those templates and masters, they just cannot go back.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, and particularly given that we are, major curators and craftsmiths, if you will, in that space, to be able to create best practice templates, which, we supply every sector. I think that'd be pretty wild, and a value add from our end of the fence as well, like to walk into BaitSmart and go, oh, guys, we've got some updated templates now running on NBS. Can I walk you through it? I think that would be an amazing asset to have. And then anyone in the network could possibly give that direction to their designers as well, which would be cool. So I'm happy to write them.
that way they're right and they've got your products. Yeah.
Oops, that wasn't a good idea. But other than that, I think it was sound, because the big question mark, and thanks for that, Joe, was in seeing how that content, what that content looked like from specification, from the written component to the tabling. Maybe if you could show Simon that, because I think he missed that section.
Sure. Yeah, so just start from the top. What we exported was where I've taken the information from your document here, put it into Chorus first of all, then the output into different work sections. First is like this, so obviously typically you'd have 40, 50 or 60 or more work sections. These are the ones we just chose, and as soon as I click onto that one, it'll zoom you down to that location. There's your overall technicalities of that part of the spec with some product selections listed down here. And what a lot of companies want to do is have this in table format, just like you sent to us. Therefore, if I just zoom back up to my nominated product section, it's this one here. And that's shown just again as individual clauses being written manually, or shown in a table like that with some live links. So those are you can easily grab a piece of text and just do a live link on there. So particularly helpful for the material safety data sheets and any additional literature you need to send within your spec. Instead of the architect having to build up this folder of a few hundred megabytes worth of literature, they just put it all as a live link, and therefore the contractor has all the information there as live links, but you don't have to try and transfer these hundreds of megabytes of file.
The quick question, Joe, we can load like certificates and things like that against the product. Yeah,
that's exactly the right way to do it. Yeah.
That would save a lot of time.
Lauren, would a requirement, Lauren, for you be to have imagery displayed in something like this rather than linked off to?
I think maybe the reason why there is an imagery in this case is because Joe's made this up based off the schedule that I provided. Which
we do images. Chorus does allow you to do images. So on the version I just did here, I just put in the images that you had from your.
Yeah, right.
So just all it means that when you're in Chorus, you just can export as PDF, obviously just a clean PDF that can't be changed, or you can import as a Word document, export as a Word document, and therefore you can add all these images.
Sorry to interrupt. Can we be specific about contact details as well?
So on your page, yes, you'd have your specific contact details listed, much like I did with the Ampolite example, I think, wasn't it? I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, I think we had the Ampolite version.
Yeah, the answer is yes, Lauren. Remember I showed you in the demo, don't put a 1-800 number. Do you remember that one? Yeah, don't do that to them. Give them a direct number of someone that can help them if they're asking about, hey, I need help with my spec.
That's right.
Yeah, and you can obviously control that per product.
Very good.
Nice work, Joe.
Sorry, Joe, can I just clarify, when you said with the images, because you talked about, first we saw a PDF and then you said a Word document, did you say you had to manually drop the images into the Word document, or if they were available in a PDF, would you be able to just automatically display them?
You do the images afterwards in the Word document itself.
Right, so there's manual work in that.
Yeah, so from Chorus you can export into PDF or into Word, and then of course the Word gives you the option of grabbing this table and we'll be able to change it and put your images in. But at the moment Chorus we don't take in images, and the reason for that is typically thinking like an architect, you'd want to drag in this image of this product, and great, it's in your spec. Then somebody will say, oh, we've got a little construction detail, we just want to show that. And then the next thing will be, I've got a few A1 drawings I want to shove into the spec as well. And all of a sudden it's not a spec anymore. The spec is the written description of your project. The drawings.
But for us in the tender process, it really comes down to being what we're looking at on screen right now. So this is probably the workhorse tool for us in terms of converting opportunities into sales in the marketplace. So I think I absolutely agree with you, and I totally understand, Joe, and we do need to consider and look at it from an architectural perspective, because there's a lot more than what's going on in the bathroom space. But in terms of that real sort of heavy lifting document, it's all about the table. So I think that in terms of future development, it would be wild if you could actually integrate the images into that, what's spat out into the PDF as well, if they're available for that product.
Yeah, it is. It's been. Well,
it's a common request.
Yeah. Here called suggest a feature. So that's been pressed many times by people saying exactly what you said. So can we have images? So
I'm on there now suggesting that.
Excellent.
It's a good suggestion. Yeah. So
we agree.
The team are in the process of doing that now. So in exactly the same way that this comes through here, when you've put that into one of your into one of your clauses. So say in this example, we threw it down into one of these clauses down here, you will get a bit more information in terms of the picture and the image flashing up here. And when you go back to this view, it's in development now. There's a few testing pages that I guess nobody else is allowed to see just yet, but there will be a couple of tick boxes here where you say show in schedule. And as soon as you click that box, it will take the image with it from source, and therefore exactly what you're talking about is on the way, but I can't lie and say it's ready yet. It's not quite. It's a couple of months away.
Okay, well, that's cool.
And this is what architects want, exactly just saying, it's what the architects want. They just still want their authentic materials and finishing schedule, but they don't really want to just go and start a new Word or Excel document and do it from scratch like that and sort of copy into this project. So.
No, it's really, I'm really impressed. Like, I think it's an awesome platform. I think it works. Yeah, I think it's exciting for Australia for us to lift our game up too, you know. And I've got a lot of my customers are on that list, so I think I'll do a bit of research and see how they're they're having fun with it, if they're, you know, enjoying it, what they sort of think of it, and whether they see any room for improvement or whatever. And I can share that feedback with you as well if you like. So,
yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
great.
Just being mindful for time. Unless Lauren, Simon, if there's any other sort of questions. Well, we do have Joe here, but yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks, you did an awesome job, mate. So just a really deep dive into their world and the way that they operate and what they are seeking from it. I think it's important to know, because that way you align yourself with the way that they are. But yeah, and happy to. What I'll do, I'll actually send that sample to you guys as well, which is the output that Joe just showed you there, so you can have a bit of a peruse if you like, but mine is just a demo output as well. Don't be too critical if you put it in the wrong section. But yeah, so we're just in your hands now, guys. What would you like from us? Obviously, we can maybe set up another time just to go over more of which the product selection would make sense if you wanted to go down that way. Lauren, you want to do a bit more due diligence there, but really, it's where would you like us to go from here?
So you've given us a breakdown of the investment. I think that's pretty important, and you've given us scope in terms of subscribers.
Yep.
Simon, would you need any further information aside from our collective notes and this schedule that's been, or specification that's been generated?
I think let's you and I regroup. So my remit this quarter is to get some decisioning around this sort of executed. So we're looking at like what would our fourth quarter of the financial year look like in terms of activity and being in market and doing those things. So I think Laura and I have business stakeholders we need to kind of just work with and I guess get some decision. Well, I shared with you, Gus, last time that we're really looking at a kind of test and learn approach. This is new for REECE and you know, we don't know yet like where we want to play and all of that. Like, so maybe we just, I don't know whether we're picking a category or how we're going to do this, but we're going to work in with our merchandising team that Lauren's a part of. And probably come back to you with our thoughts on what a next step for REECE would look like, and then let's just go from there and we can talk all the commercials and all of that around it. But give us maybe a week or two just to do that regrouping and have the consult within the business. So probably looking towards the end of this month, we can look at then designing what a pilot or what some activity for REECE looks like in the first instance and go from there.
All right.
So probably not a bad idea to jump the gun on getting feedback from product info, Simon. If Gus and team, you have an overview of the steps of what it looks like, and excuse me, don't have the language, but how we get our information forth into
like what does onboarding look like?
Sure.
As a time frame and all of that.
Yeah, because that's what they're most interested in, having explored other areas before. So.
Too easy, and also to obviously share the link to this recording as well for the guys if they want to have a bit of a look-see as well. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'll shoot that email with the summary after this later this afternoon. But yeah, thank you very again. Thanks, Joe, Eva, Simon, and Lauren.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful.
Cheers, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Right. Lovely to meet you as well. Have a fantastic week. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.